Welcome, everybody. This is Matt Fry, Operations Manager here with Cornerstone Senior Marketing. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to come join me here to learn a little bit more about Medicare Center and some of the updates that went live a couple of Fridays ago here on the 1st. I really wanted to just take the opportunity before AEP began to get back out in front of you guys one more time to make sure that I'm answering your questions and really just going over some of the new features that, to be completely honest with you, were even new to me when this thing went live there on the 1st. So I want to just start by just talking through some of the, like I said, the updates like that really came to the system that I did not know that were coming, or that did come, but maybe you didn't get a chance to join with some of my earlier trainings. So first off, I'm going to talk about Medicare Center when you first log in. So this is our home dashboard off of Medicare Center, and you're going to notice some changes right off the bat. So first off, I want to make sure that I am clear. Last year you had to select one option. It just said Medicare Advantage and PDP. And after you clicked that button, you had the option of either launching Medicare app or Medicare Link. Well, this year we got some feedback and we basically separated those two out. So they now each have their own link to launch. Medicare app is ran by Connecture. So if you hear me talk about Connecture today, that's usually the tool that I'm going to be referencing. The difference between the Medicare app and the Medicare Link is Medicare Link is run by a company called Sunfire, and I do want you to know that you do have the option still to quote and enroll out on both of these plans for 2021. But for the Connecture Medicare app tool, if you do have any November 1st or December 1st effective dates, it's important for you to know that you will have to use this 2021 Medicare app link below the 2022 launch button. On the Learning Center, we have new tech guides and sales tips and things like that. We've added some new video trainings around some of the new features. So just I wanted to make sure that I pointed that out. So in case you can't access any of my trainings, I may be unavailable. There are technical guides out here for all of the platforms that we offer through this tool, and they're accessible, at your fingertips when you log in. I want to make sure that this was this is one that was last updated on the 12th, so this is one that I wanted to make sure that I showed you. Another good thing that is out here for the new year, we've updated our comparison chart that shows between Medicare app and Medicare Link some of the differences between the carriers that are available on these platforms. And you can kind of see here, we added this new Medicare Center contact management tool because as I'm getting ready to show you after I get through this is another option for quoting and enrollment. But the ones that over here, Medicare app and Link, the ones with these little asterisks, will show you actually the carriers that are on these platforms for enrollment, but they have the built-in HRA and VBEs. That is a big update for plan year 2022. Those were not available in 2021. So new this year, when you use our tool to enroll, let's say in Medicare app for Aetna, you can, once you complete the enrollment, you will be able to get, you'll see a link after you've completed the enrollment to go out to the Aetna site to complete their value-based enrollment so that you can still, you get that extra money for completing the enrollment electronically and taking those, kind of those health questions on your members. So it's a nice little feature. We've added it for a number of new carriers for this year. So we have it out here for Aetna. This Anthem comes with a little bit of an asterisk. It is available through Medicare Link and not Medicare app, but it's only out here for the dual SNP product. So that's a very important to note. But we have WellCare or Centene. We have Cigna Health Spring here in Ohio. We have Devoted Health. We have Humana. We have WellCare for the state of Ohio anyway. There's a couple of carriers that are still holding out there on us that are only making those HRAs or things available through their specific tools like Lean or United Healthcare. But we're making progress, and I sure hope to be able to continue to add to this list as we move forward into the new plan year. So I did see some questions coming in on the Q&A in regards to some WellCare drug costs in Medicare Center. And I will get to that, Jody. I know that I believe I left a message for Sarah on that earlier today. That is something that we're looking at. Honestly, during this pre-AEP timeframe, we've seen this from time over time, and I'm sure most of you guys have seen some of that as well, over the years, even coming from Medicare.gov, where sometimes those results, when you first are looking for them during this pre-AP timeframe, are a little bit skewed. But in that specific example, Jody, I did provide that over to my support team to fix. I'm not sure what was going on with that specific drug, but I do agree that there was some issues there in regards to the amount that was being displayed. So we're working through that, and I anticipate that will be fixed here overnight. But we'll get more into that here in a moment. But the client management was something that was new this year, in the sense that you can use that to quote and enroll. I will be honest with you that doesn't have the VBE and HRA features built in. There's some other features that Medicare app and Medicare Link have made available that are not available through this platform. So it's still, in my opinion, just still about a year or two off from being really right up there with the other two tools. Like, for example, we can only add inside of our preferences and things like that. Under details, we can only add one pharmacy. We can add multiple prescriptions and providers now inside of this tool. And after we've added some information, we can go right into viewing the plans. It's a nice tool if you don't have a way to manage your book today. Like, if you do not have a client management system, this is honestly a good alternative for you. You can disposition your clients to track things. You can set reminders. We are continuing to add new functionality out here, including multiple ways that you can report out of this tool, which will be very, very helpful long term. But as I said, for the enrollment and the quoting piece, I still think it's just a little bit behind the Connecture Medicare app tool, which is typically my go-to, and the one that I feel the most confident on, and the one that we have the most carriers approved for enrollment and the VBEs for. So you might have noticed also, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but last year, this CSG app, it read Medicare Supplement. Because the CSG app quotes way more than just Medicare Supplements, we renamed the tool just CSG app. But all of those features that you've used in prior years is still available through this tool. So all you have to do is click that CSG app, and then you'll see some of the new features that have been added for plan year 2022. The newer this year was the Market Pulse that added an online carrier depository for information, in case you needed to pull library, like documents from carriers maybe you're not appointed with. You can do that through Market Pulse. We also add an electronic scope of appointment process available through this tool. There is also an electronic scope of appointment process through that client management. I kind of skimmed over that a little bit, but I do know that in all of the tools now this year, both the CRM, CSG app, Medicare app, and Medicare Link, we are giving you the opportunity and the tools to take electronic scope of appointments. So it's just another way that we're trying to make it easier on you. Most of the carriers now, as long as you have one of those, you're able to, at least as long as you have a scope of appointment, you are compliant. You just have to be able to, provide that to them, if they would ever request it. And these tools give you the opportunity to capture that if you're, still selling remote to your members. We had the question that Bright is not appearing on Medicare app. And why don't I just jump right into Medicare app? I recognize a lot of you guys that are joining on here, and I know that most of you are Medicare app users. So this is where I wanted to spend the bulk of my time here today, and then really open it up for questions, and then go wherever you guys wanted me to go. Like I said, I want this to be a very interactive training today, kind of a little bit different than my normal, set presentations here as I go through everything. So The question that came into the chat box specifically was Bright is not appearing on Medicare app. That is because that is what not necessarily, if I go back to that carrier comparison chart, they are not available through Connecture for enrollment, and or just an approved carrier on the platform. So if you want to view Bright Health as well as any other carriers that are not either not through Cornerstone, you don't have those contracts through Cornerstone, or you you want to see other options that are maybe direct to the consumer, that will be on a new link that will be coming out tomorrow. Most of you know it was available in 2021 on the plans page specifically, and I can just go out here right now. I know I'm going to be jumping around a little bit based on your guys' comments here today. But starting tomorrow, like I said, roughly like mid-morning, probably about 8 or 9 o'clock, you're going to see some additional changes into this tool. One of the changes that you'll see is, once again, you'll start to see the link up here that says load in non-licensed plans. And then that would be how you would be able to bring in Bright Health for your quoting purposes, Mike. Also, that is coming available for, starting tomorrow. Not only will you finally be able to check out and enroll, and your members will be able to enroll through the platform, but our provider and network information will become available starting October 15th inside of Medicare app. So I will go back through an example of adding in preferences and things like that. And if we do load in our providers, if we look at this today, the provider information for plan year 2022 is not available until tomorrow. So, and you will see a little note out here after we would add doctors that would show, the provider information won't be available until tomorrow. So another question that did come in, explain what is going on with WellCare. There is a PDP coming out with the best price for a specific client on Medicare.gov. Well, I will tell you that for WellCare, specifically in regards to the PDP market, they did go from 6 plans down to 3 plans. And from some preliminary searches, I have heard from agents when I've been talking to that value script is going to be a good option for a lot of folks. So I believe maybe that's what you're asking about. Rick, if you want me to expand on that a little bit more, if you could maybe just give me a little bit more details about what you're seeing there on Medicare.gov. But I believe very strongly that, that SilverScript and WellCare are probably going to lead the charge in the PDP market here for plan year 2022, along with, that third horse kind of being Humana. I mean, there's some other options out there for the state of Ohio, like Mutual of Omaha and United Healthcare and Anthem, but some of those plans are a little bit higher priced. They have a little bit richer formularies, so it might make sense for some of your clients. However, for those more cost, focused clients that are looking for a cheaper option for your prescription drugs, I would assume it's going to be, Humana, WellCare, or SilverScript for plan year 2022. So I do want to go back through here. You noticed up at the top probably some new items here, and I really want to take a little bit of a moment here before I continue answering your questions that are a little bit more product specific, and go over some new features inside of Medicare app that you may have came across. So new this year that I did not know it necessarily that was coming until the 1st, we have some new reporting functionality built into Medicare app. So first and foremost, we have this dashboard. Now, if you've gone out to your dashboard, it probably looks blank, like mine. It's pretty empty. This is more for tasks that we can create inside of the system. Now, when we complete the scope of appointment, let's say, I'll go through an example here in a moment. After we send a scope of appointment, the system will prompt you to set up a task to follow up. So this is a way that you can track your activity inside of the system and making sure that you're following back up on any maybe scopes or enrollments or quotes that you've sent to your members, which is great. We've also added some built-in just general Connecture agent training materials. So there's just general documents around certain functionalities within the tools, and some other videos around different kinds of things that you can do within the tool. You know, most of these things I've tried to cover in most of my previous trainings, so some of you guys are probably pretty familiar with this, but this is just general training documents and videos that Connecture has put together for, you know, our agents. You can also get to this agent training session or section by clicking your name in the top right corner and clicking Agent Training Materials. And then you can also see this new reports functionality that is also underneath your name. Now, as we get going and as you complete things, like scope of appointments inside of the system, or if you were to complete an HRA, you are going to be able to run reports out of here based on a submitted date range. Now, I will tell you, I'm trying to press Connecture a little bit. I haven't gotten final clarification whether certain enrollment information will be available through this reports tool. This is brand new. This was not out here last year, so I'm not 100% positive if they are. You know, on our initial internal training, it was just HRA and scope of appointments that were going to be made available through this report functionality, but I am pressing to get the enrollments added to this section as well. Gotcha. And then I was just catching up on the chat here. So Lenny brings up a very good point. I think he may be talking about the fact that as of yesterday, we still can't order kits for WellCare. And that is correct. We were running into the same thing here at Cornerstone. We sent out an e-blast I think it was yesterday or the day before. We found out that WellCare, their sales reps were doing pickup locations for kits in certain areas of the state on certain times and dates and locations. If you need those, I would say come to us after the fact. But they basically got bombarded, and they canceled out almost everybody's kit orders. Even if you had a kit order in and you were, you know, you did your pre-order, you may not have received everything. We certainly didn't. We received a handful of PDP kits, but we're missing almost all of our Medicare Advantage kits. I will tell you that here at Cornerstone, we have downloaded the PDF versions of everything for WellCare for the state of Ohio. So if you are in an emergency situation and you need a PDF of a kit, and you're going to be taking that, you know, not through maybe Medicare app, you know, or electronically, and you need an actual hard kit, let us know and we can see what we can do. We've been trying to get our hands on as many things as we can. It's not just WellCare this year. Most of you guys are probably a little bit short or shy on a fair number of carriers. You know, I'm being told that there's a big issue in regards to the supply chain for almost everything, from the printers to the carriers to the, you know, only certain plan things becoming available and printing and making it out to us. It's been a frustration here felt by all. So, you know, sorry if you're running into that, but, you know, outside of Aetna, which is still the only ones that have like a kind of a code associated with them, almost all the other carriers, we have PDF versions of the enrollment forms and kits in case you need it. Keep in mind, though, that Medicare app, for example, we do load in plan materials as well, and I can show you where to find those inside of this tool in case you would be in a pinch. I'm getting some good questions now. So is there a way to run a report on the profiles you have entered? That's a very good question, Deborah. Unfortunately, there is not necessarily a great way to do that yet. You can export your search results, but there's not really a great way to pull all of them. I mean, you will be able to pull all of your, you know, maybe your profiles that you did applications on by just maybe using like last year's start date and then an end date here, and it'll pull everything that you've done. Or you can just simply, you know, search by, you know, first or last name and pull out that information little by little. But the good news is I have a little bit more of a solution for you. Since you guys are on my training, not everybody knows this, but I do have a little bit of back-end admin access that's a little bit different than everybody else's. And I can get you an Excel spreadsheet of your profiles that you've created. So I will make note of that, at least for you, Deborah, to get that for you and then send that over to you in an email after this training. So if others are looking for that and they need a list of all the profiles that have been entered into the system, you can go ahead and send me an email, and then I will try to get those to you as soon as possible. Does the app automatically send out e-versions of the documentation when we do an app in Medicare Center? Yes, it does. So when you or your client would access an enrollment form, on the far right-hand side, there will be links to the PDF versions of the documents. So, and also you can always find plan documents within plan details. So why don't I show you where those are at? And both you and your client can find this information in the same exact spot. So while I'm going through that and I go to show you where you can find some of those plan documents and how those plan documents are delivered to your members, I do want to talk through a couple of other things here. So actually, I'm going to jump over to preferences. So just a reminder on this Get Started button, because I've gotten this question as well, you do have to make a selection here in the what coverage type you are interested in if you want to make, an indication that your client is Medicaid eligible, or maybe they receive extra help at a certain level, and you want the system to help you calculate those costs. Sometimes that can be a differentiator between Medicare app and Medicare.gov, and I've seen in something that I've already helped out with this year, that caused some discrepancies on what was showing in certain areas of the system between the two sites. So just know that this is where you can find some of that information on our tool. The health preferences didn't necessarily change. This is still an optional basically feature, but the system will still estimate health costs based on information on your member. So you can there's this little sliding scale here in regards to health, and you can indicate how old your member is. You can go ahead and add providers in here into this tool as we speak. Now, I will tell you that, like I said, that once we get to the plans page, though, you will not be able to see whether these carriers or, these providers are in network with each carrier. Not until tomorrow. That is when that information is getting loaded. And for right now, you can load up to 10 providers and or pharmacies, and or facilities like hospitals, clinics, urgent cares, that sort of thing into the tool. Another thing I always like to highlight this time of year, and you will see some information in the training documents and that sort of thing as well, is keep in mind if you have a member that does have a MyMedicare.gov profile, they can allow Connexure access into their prescriptions, and you can pull those directly into the tool without having to manually type them out, which makes a difference. So just keep that in mind. On the pharmacy, just in case you haven't attended one of my trainings, maybe over the course of September or really since last year, we have added the ability to add multiple pharmacies inside of Medicare app. So you can select up to 3 now, and mail order will always be an option. So just keep that in mind. And I do see the questions coming in. Just bear with me. I will go back through all of them. But last but not least is this other preferences section. This is going to play a factor in the next thing that I kind of talk about. So this is new. We've added a number of carriers have provided us with information in regards to their optional supplemental benefits, as well as the value added additions that come standard with the plans. So for instance, if you can indicate for your clients if maybe, dental, vision, or hearing are very important to them. And the reason this plays into a factor is I'll show you here on this plans page, we have a new filter option. So very quickly, I got the question, I guess this isn't a very quick answer really, but what are the differences between Medicare App and Medicare Link? Let me get through Medicare App and then I can pop over to Medicare Link and kind of show you. It is different just from a visual standpoint. They're different because they are ran by two separate companies. Medicare App is hosted by Connecture, which is the same company that hosts and runs Medicare.gov, whereas Medicare Link is run by a company called Sunfire. There are a few little differences inside of the system in regards to how things are displayed, the information that's available. In Medicare Link, for instance, you can kind of toggle back and forth between the plan years, but then there's some other things that, in my opinion, hamper a little bit. For instance, when you send a quote or an enrollment to a member through Medicare Link, there's kind of a window, whether it's 24 or 48 hours, depending on what you're doing inside of the system, before that link goes away. And you, the agent, are required to provide the code to your member to be able to get in and access either the quote or enrollment that you're sending. Medicare App will send all that information directly to the client, whether you're either email or text, however you're sending it through this tool, and they'll get the link to the quote or enrollment along with the code. And those links stay active until you would maybe send them another link for a different quote or enrollment. So that makes a big difference. And then there's just some other little features, like there's some filters and different things that they've done. And the enrollment forms are different between the two carriers the two providers, Sunfire and Connecture, because each company works with the carriers year over year, and so you'll see slight differences in the enrollment forms. Excuse me. You will see here now that I've added those providers, like I said, that network data will be available on 10/15. But new this year, after we've added in our preferences, we now have this option, this preference score, high to low. I've been getting a lot of questions on this. So I wanted to make sure that I took the time to go through it. The preference score it's based on all of that information that we've just put in. So their drugs, their pharmacy, their health, specifically the dental plays a big part in that. If I would have selected dental as being a big part of what this is important to this member, and then it'll rate them based on the information that's built within those plans on those preferences. There's like kind of an equation on the back end that sorts these. So a high preference score, based on their preferences, Connecture's telling you that there's a little bit of a lineup in here. But you may find that, plans with a higher premium might show more up at the top. I know that most of you guys are looking for plans to be listed based on costs. Last year, the default filter was total estimated cost. And it's my understanding that Connecture is looking to move that default filter back to estimated cost, and then you will be able to then choose the preference score if you wanted to shop that way. So just keep that in mind. Is there any way to turn off expected health costs on the MAPDs? I'm sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice here. Let me take a drink of water, 1 second. There is not a way necessarily to take out the estimated health costs out of the equation for your total estimated annual cost. But what you can do on the filter is you can sort just by estimated drug cost, and then it's going to list the plans just based on how they're covering the drugs. And you can see here we can bounce back and forth between pharmacies to make sure that we're doing the best for our members. We've also added over the course of the last year this insulin savings program filter over here on the left. So if you have members that are taking insulin medication for their diabetes, you can look at only the carriers and plans that participate in that program. And just because a carrier has an insulin savings program on one of their plans doesn't necessarily make it available for all of their plans, specifically with prescription drug plans. I wanted to just make sure that I mentioned that. So just kind of keep that in mind. So that it is a nice little filter. Is there a way to print out the list of providers or prescriptions other than printing the screen? Unfortunately not. Now, last year, before we added this print button up here at the top and down here at the bottom of the screen. I'll tell you that you used to have to use your browser to print that stuff off, and sometimes that could print very askewed and not look very clean and nice. But so if you're going to print out of this tool, I would highly recommend using this print button so it shapes it kind of real nice. Now, we did have the question, though, about the plan documents, so let me just circle back on that. Inside of plan details, down at the very bottom of this line-by-line data on what's covered in here, are plan documents that have been provided by the carrier. And so this is where you can find links to everything. And then this is where once again, you'll also be able to find some information in regards to the networks come the 15th. Now you can already see the pharmacy information has been loaded in. There is some built-in dental, it looks like, available through this here. And I will show you, like, if it was down here at the bottom last year, I maybe overlooked it. A lot of times, me and my team are getting questions in regards to some of these value adds that are starting to go on more and more of these plans, like the over-the-counter amounts, like some of these flexible spending cards and, health food cards and things that are available through some of these plans. Now down here at the bottom of these plan details is where you can find some of that information. So for instance, on this specific plan, there's a $50 over-the-counter amount. And you can find some general information on some of their other value-added services, that are available through their platform inside of Medicare app. So I wanted to make sure that I pointed that out. I got the question, once you change the filter to show estimated drug cost, will it stay that way for future quotes? Also, I think that the health cost filter should be removed. Creates too many questions from client. I will take that feedback for you, Steve, in regards to the health costs. I know that Medicare.gov, I believe, still has some of those health costs as well, which I think is where some of that mindset still comes in on that. But the estimated drug cost and those filters, it does flip back. Like if I go back here, unfortunately, it flips back to preference score. I know that that's certainly not ideal, but I would make sure that you note that. I have talked to Connecture about that in relation to that same conversation that I'm having with them around the preference score over the estimated cost. You can see here it's loading in the preference score right here, and I would have to go back to estimated drug cost, to list these things appropriately inside of the Medicare Advantage. So, like I said, starting tomorrow, we'll be able to add these plans to cart and check out. And then I mentioned it right out the gate, but post-enrollment. So after you're in that enrollment form with you or your client, after you hit the submit button and you're taken to the page with the confirmation number, that is where you will access and find the link to the VBE or HRA. So if you plan on using those, keep that in mind, that you are going to need to stay on that page to access that health risk assessment or value-based enrollment. Now, I wanted to just show you one other thing here in regards to the quotes. Let me just grab a couple things here. We can email or text quotes to enrollees at this point in time, since we're still in the pre-AEP. And just like last year, inside of Medicare app, you will be able to complete out an enrollment for a member and then send it over to them for signature. That functionality will become available tomorrow. But let's just say I'm going to email this over to them. new this year is this section down here. We would get this, we've successfully sent the quote, view Matt's profile last year. But now, whenever you do anything inside of this system, whether it's scope of appointment, sending a quote like I just did, or if you were to send an enrollment to a member, you're going to have this little option to create the task. And you don't have to do it, but if you do, you can add your notes. It's a free-form field. And if you click Add this task, you'll see that this task is created. Now, if we go back to our dashboard, this is where it'll track some of those tasks. So that task that I just created to follow up on that quote, and I could have changed the follow-up date there. I probably should have done that. It defaults out a couple of days, I think, on these quotes. You can see that it's here now, and I can kind of complete this out if I needed to, just by checking that box. If I wanted to go back into this person's profile, all I would have to do from this dashboard is simply click their name. So this is kind of nice. And any other general maybe tasks you create for yourself within the system, all of them will show, right here in the other page as well. But if you completed that quote as it was if you created the task after you sent a quote and you were prompted by the system, this is where it would show. If you were prompted to create a task after you sent a scope of appointment, this is where it would show if you did that. And same thing with the enrollment. This is where that will show. Can you send out an email on how to do the VBE? Yes, we sure can. Now, I do have something here that I can show you. Give me 1 second while I grab this. I will, this document will probably be the best thing that I'll be able to provide at this time, because we don't actually, I don't actually submit any enrollments, obviously. And so I don't have the ability to complete the enrollment out and then click on the link and do it myself. But this should help you. Give me 1 second here as I'm pulling this up. All right, hopefully you're seeing that on my screen. So this is just a generic document that we have available. It kind of talks about how you can submit. And then this is what I was talking about. So after you've submitted the application and you're given the confirmation, this is, kind of the what to expect, and here's that next steps. And then this is where you're going to see a link to the health risk assessment. Now, they all won't be quite the same. So I know that, for instance, WellCare, Aetna, and Humana, if you click that link, you're going to be taken out to the carrier site to complete. And then for Devoted, for example, you're actually going to do that health risk assessment through our tool. But most of them will take you directly out to the carrier to complete it. So just keep that in mind. Did you cover the new personal code at the bottom of Search Benny page and how that works and when that applies? I can rewatch webinar if I missed. I did not, Bill, so let me go back through that here. Oh, and I maybe missed one other thing. Any way to have the task reminders show up on your calendar on Outlook or Gmail? Unfortunately, it doesn't quite tie in that well to other platforms yet. I don't know if that's coming or not. That's a very good feedback, Lenny. I will see what I can come up with on that. But I will tell you that, if you want to be able to see what you have to do based on your tasks, you would have to log in the Medicare app and then come to the dashboard. Also, a little bit new, if you guys want to add some personalization real quick. I know I will get to that personal code here in a moment, Bill. But let me show you one or two other things here. Under Account Overview, you can now add a picture of yourself, and that is a picture of me playing baseball as a child. So this will get attached to things that you send to your clients. So if you have nice headshots or things like that, you can certainly access that. So why don't I show you what that looks like? Like I just sent that quote to a member. I'm going to need to grab that code, but there you can see my image is now built into the email, built into this email as well. And when I click view quote, you're going to see the picture of me playing baseball even better. There we go. And I was just playing around with the pictures, which is why I ended up with that. I should probably update that. But now, when they enter in, this will still look basically the same. These consumer sites look about the same that they did last year, same pictures, same kind of thing. They review the information that you've entered in. Your client can take the time to edit their preferences, and then they can compare these things, continue to shop if they need, or add each thing to cart. Now, if they try to check out prior till tomorrow, they're going to get, they're going to say that it's not available until the 15th, just like it said on yours. Now, specifically, the question came up inside of Medicare app that now there's this new option under search beneficiaries. And I actually probably should have just stayed on that page. It's this personal code right here. So I don't know how many of you guys use the personalized URL or that My Shopping link that's under your account profile, but this is where they obtain that personal code. So this is not a personal code that on any quote or enrollment that you would send the member, but if you have, you use that My Shopping link or that personalized URL out on your website or on your social media or inside of your email signatures or something like that, I do encourage you, first and foremost, if you've not attended any of my previous trainings, these links do update from plan year to plan year. So you do have to come out here and grab this for plan year 2022. And I would encourage you to do that again after you're ready to sell with all of your carriers. So I'm going to copy that link, and I'm going to go over here and kind of show you what that personal code is. So this is a consumer-facing site that you've not done anything with it. You're just making that link available to your clients. Your clients can click in here, and then they can do everything up all the way up to enrollment on yourself. So if they kind of get started here, or they can first off, they can create an account if they want. And if they do, they can log into this year over year. And if they create that account, all of that information will automatically come over from their session into your agent session. So they would have created their profile, they could have added their drugs, you could see all of that information all from your side. Now, if they just come out here and then they just start to search and try to view plans, we had a question coming. They can go up to enrollment or they can enroll. They can go through enrollment, Karen, so they do not have to do anything, you don't have to do anything for them to be able to enroll. Now, none of the information would come over pre-populated like you can do through your agent session, but if they just access this link, they're going to only be able to quote and enroll themselves into the carriers in which you're ready to sell for, because your link is different from my link. So anything that they do within this platform, you're going to be able to make sure that you get credit for that sale. But as they go through this, and they start to be able to add some preferences in here. So let's just go out here and let's just say, okay, I take, I don't know, metformin or something. And I'm going to add that. And I create that account. They're going to be prompted here to create this account to pull up some of this information for you. So we'll just do Matt test. So now that I'm in here and I've created an account, under my account summary, I believe, Now, I was having problems with this the other day as well. On this personalized code, they're supposed to be able to enter in those preferences, and then they're supposed to be able to see that code up here. I think because I'm logged in as an agent as well, it might be messing around with this a little bit. But it should be right under here is basically the information that I was given, that personalized code was supposed to be out here on this personalized URL shopping site, and then they're going to be able to find it right under here. But I think because I am kind of logged in as an agent, it's messing with this a little bit on my side. But for the time being, if they create an account anyway, that information's automatically coming over to Medicare app. So the long story short, Bill, is unfortunately I don't see much benefit in that personal code. I was trying to show you what you could find out here, and where your clients could find that to provide that to you. But you know, if they're already shopping and quoting themselves, all they have to do is create that account, and then now I should be able to come out here and find Matt Task out here, and it should automatically pull up. And here's Matt Test from the one that I just did. This is the one that I just created because it was created on 10/14. If they create that account and add those preferences in, it'll automatically come over here to you. All you would have to do is search for them, pull up their profile, and then see everything that they've been working on. If they don't create an account, does the agency capture any lead info or know a prospect went on at all? We do not get those reports, and you would not either. The only time that you would get something from the system automatically is if they did create and complete an enrollment. You will, or it started and didn't complete it. You will get an email from the system letting you know that they went out there and then they've done that. We're having some more questions come in here now. So if they create their account and enroll, do we have access to the information without a code? Yeah, so just like I said, if they did that and if they create their account and enrolled, you'll be able to come out here to Matt Test, look under enrollment history, and pull a copy of that application. What is a registrant versus an applicant? A registrant is someone who just says, we just have in the system. An applicant is someone who's applied for a plan or started an application in the plan at one point or another. They might not have finished an enrollment, but they have at least started one through in Medicare app. I hope that makes sense. Any change to what client sees in their email for SOA or enrollment? Other than really your information and your picture coming through, if you add that picture, there's not much of a change here. Now, the one thing this time over last year, basically all of their demographic information comes over on the scope of appointment if you're sending the SOA through Medicare app. The only thing that doesn't come through is their home address, which they have to verify. But the rest of it does come over on the SOA. So if I come out here and I add this information in, continue to SOA. Yes, Karen, if they create an account but did not enroll, you will still be able to pull up that profile on your session of Medicare app. So you'll be able to log in as you, the agent, and pull up everything that they accessed or did, or add any preferences that they added. So let me just send the SOA. Same picture. They've added my picture. Same picture up here, but now they've added my picture here. Now you can see when they click this complete, and this would be the same thing if you texted the SOA to them. All that information is going to basically come over. And they fixed the address thing, which is great. This was not doing this the other day. So all of the demographic information is now coming over. So all they have to do is check mark the plans that they want to be able to discuss, check mark the box that everything's accurate, and then hit submit. And then at that point, your client's done, which is great. So I'm getting some other stuff here in the chat. Now keep in mind with the SOA though, real quick, you see once again I'm getting prompted to create that scope of appointment task. I will do that. Now I will have a task out on my dashboard because I did that. Now, if I'm doing this real time, I can just refresh my page, and because you, the agent, have to complete out your session or your section, excuse me, of the SOA before that it's completed. So keep that in mind. Now I'm gonna just keep going here because we're getting some other questions. So I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to kind of preview Medicare Link, but I figured we'd have a lot of questions on Medicare app, which is why I came in here. So can you review, let me see here. Can you review how to access where you link Medicare Center for your website? Yeah, so you would go up here to this will be your name. You'll click Account Overview. And then on the top left-hand side, you're going to see this option for the My Shopping link. And you're going to want to copy this link right here. And after it says copied, you've successfully copied it. And then you can paste that. You know, you would have to work with your, like, if you have a website or something, like, you'd have to update your link that you have out on your website with this new copied URL out here. And then that should work for you. Will this be available to view again, and where would I access it and when, of course? So I'm assuming you're talking about my training, and yes, it will. I can make it available. It's recording right now. It takes a little bit of time to convert that into a YouTube link. Typically, where we house all of our trainings, we have it, you know, our own website, cornerstoneseniormarketing.com. Under Agent Toolkit, we have this broker-centric area and then a webinar library. Under webinar library is where you will find a copy of today's recording. If I send them my Pearl and they fill out an application, does an SOA get captured in that process, or how does an agent handle SOA in that situation? I typically, if there's two ways to answer this, okay? So if you're sending them a link, I would, you know, probably, you know, take an SOA through your session of Medicare Center and then actually send them a quote. Like if you're actively engaged and you're talking with them, then I would capture an SOA, send them an SOA, and then create a customized quote and then send that quote to them. You know, if they're just accessing your Pearl though, like the reason that you have two answers to this is because, like, if your Pearl is out on your website, let's say, or it's in your email signature for anybody, or on your social media, and they access it, and then they go out there and they enroll themselves, and you never actually interacted with that client, an SOA is not captured because, you know, an SOA is not required, you know, as part of that process. You never actually communicated, talked, or, you know, met with that client. Like, you only have to capture an SOA if you're actively engaged in working with them. So, you know, I always, as a compliance person and officer for Cornerstone, I always tell my agents, or if you guys are asking me, I always tell you to capture a scope of appointment when and if possible. And always just, better to be safe than sorry. You know, so, but if you don't actually interact with them and they just go out and enroll themselves, it's not a requirement to go back to them and get an SOA. They just went out there, found your Pearl, and enrolled. I hope that makes sense. If not, you know, put some more questions in here. Does the MBI follow over? It didn't last year and had to be re-entered on app and enrollments. Unfortunately, that MBI, is my understanding, was not mapped over still again for 2022. They want you to review that and make sure that you're entering that at the time of the application. I know that you know, doesn't quite make a ton of sense, but anything that is available inside of that other information section, so your MBI, your A and B effective date, that open field, and current plan, if any, fields, those are all things that will not map over to anything, unfortunately. The SOA used to autofill all options. Now we have to type each. Can you request all options be filled automatically? So, Steve, are you talking about the check mark boxes? When they receive that, they open it up and that they have to check mark those boxes? I can request that. I doubt that that's going to happen. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm glad that that's not quite what you meant there, because did you by the request all options be filled automatically? Do you mean like the text option to text it to them as well? It didn't come through because I didn't complete the phone number. When I complete an app. I'm still not quite sure what you're trying to ask, Steve. I apologize. Maybe I'll follow up with you here after this. I'm writing that down here. I'll follow up with you just for essence of time. We're almost at 3 o'clock. Will you do a training on Medicare Link in the near future? I absolutely can. I don't necessarily, I typically stop my trainings a little bit, as after AEP, just because everybody's really tied up. But Jennifer, I will reach out to you individually, and if you want me to go through Medicare Link with you on a one-on-one basis, I would be happy to do that. So I will reach out to you to maybe set that up, just because I doubt we'll get many people to attend now that tomorrow is AEP. So I'm sorry I missed that, but if you're a Medicare Link user, I can definitely spend some time with you going through that platform. Well, that was all that I had. It looks like there's no other questions coming in. If there's any other questions, now's the time. Put them in the chat. I hope you guys found this beneficial. I really did want to make it just like this, where I kind of bounced around. I hope I didn't lose many of you if you're new users to the tool. But I wanted to just really highlight some of the new features that are out here, especially with Medicare app. Keep in mind that we're going to see more changes tomorrow. You're going to see the link for low non-licensed plans. You're going to see network information finally. You're going to see the ability to enroll for both you, your clients. You're going to be able to complete the enrollment and then send it over to them for signature. All of those things are going to be back out there. You're going to see more options for enrollment into the optional supplemental benefits through this tool, which I didn't get a chance to talk through, which is really nice. And you're going to really, there's just going to be some, we're going to continue to give it a facelift. As we find things, as you guys are finding things, send them to me. I am working with my team. Honestly, every hour I'm sending something to them right now. I apologize, like I said, if I'm late getting back to you. I am working through all of the requests that are coming in. But send everything that you have to me. If you're finding any sort of discrepancies, anything at all, I want to know about it. I want to fix it because I want our system to be the best and accurate. So thank you for everybody that attended today. Thank you for your feedback. And we'll kind of take it from there. I guess I did get the question where the preference score comes from. Where it's Jeff. I'm not sure if you heard me when I was going through the preferences, but like it's based on like the dental and the vision, hearing selection, some of the other features that you've added, like the pharmacy, the providers that you've entered, the drugs. There's every little part of that whole preferences thing that as you go and add it, it's kind of there's a score based on that. I haven't got the full breakdown of the math behind it, but they basically, each selection that you make is weighted, and based on your selections inside of those preferences area is what drives that preference score and how those plans get listed out. So just keep that in mind. And if you just want to look at it on estimated costs, flip over that filter to estimated costs. That might be the easiest way to do it. Yes, I wish you guys a very great AEP as well. Thank you, Marcy. Thank you, everybody that jumped on here. And one more question. After we update our Pearl tomorrow, do we have to update every time we add a carrier? I would update it every time your permissions change, Harry. Yes, just to make sure that your clients are seeing all of your most up-to-date carriers. I would go out there and grab that Pearl anytime that changed. So if you add carriers, you'll go out there and grab that Pearl again. Great question to finish up on. But I will go ahead and close it down now. You guys, most of you know how to get a hold of me. If not, out there on cornerstoneseniormarketing.com is a contact us page with my information right here to reach out, email and phone number. Just give us a call. My whole team can help. But we're very happy that you're using the tool, and stay safe this AEP once again, and just be successful, and let us know how Cornerstone can help. We truly value your partnership. So have a great rest of your day. Thank you.